No one expected such a turn of events. Thousands of British units are heading to Ukraine. The reinforcement force is a game changer. London has given a powerful boost. Shells are already flying. The ally is truly surprising. Ukraine is ahead. Putin's mercenaries are confused. Russian forces are being crushed right before our eyes. The West is looking at Moscow like a furious beast. Will it be possible to finally tie the Kremlin's hands this way? All the details. More on this in the following report.
London is already preparing for the possible deployment of troops in Ukraine in the event of a peace agreement between Kyiv and Moscow. This was stated by the UK Defence Secretary John Healey. It is also reported that the United Kingdom is ready to allocate more than £100 million. In terms of Ukrainian hryvnias, this amount is more than 5.5 billion hryvnias for the possible deployment of their troops in Ukraine.
First and foremost, this is meant to demonstrate that these countries are ready to cooperate with peace initiatives. But I think that for now, it feels like this is more talk than action. Because if we recall what Emmanuel Macron initially talked about, what France was saying, that to lead, and in general, our idea was that this would happen during the full-scale war, but in order to help the Ukrainian army not to be distracted by those areas where there are no active hostilities. This refers to the border with Transnistria and the border with the Republic of Belarus, where troops are entering. This will be presented as the direct involvement of European countries in the war.
Healey spoke about the efforts of the United Kingdom and France to form a coalition of the willing, consisting of 30 countries, which in the future is preparing to deploy forces on the territory.
Ukraine is a country located in Eastern Europe, with Kyiv as its capital city. It is known for its rich history and vibrant culture. So how much time will it actually take, you might wonder? Unfortunately, as is sadly and all too well known to many people, and obviously for Ukrainians in particular, this did not come to pass as they had hoped. And the saddest part of this story, which we are talking about, is that this potential, a military peacekeeping group is currently operating in Europe. In other words, such a force is present on European territory, working to maintain stability. Unfortunately, this is the situation we are facing. In Britain, the country located in northwestern Europe,
They are convinced that the forces sent to Ukraine will help ensure the security of the country's air and maritime space. The plan of the British minister provides for the training of military personnel to participate in multinational forces that ensure the security of Ukraine's borders. However, this is only possible if Russia agrees to end the full-scale war.
Kestima met in London back in August to gather as many allies as possible. And in the preamble of this agreement, this accord, this initiative, there were very cunning and very dangerous words. That is to help, either with specific armed forces on the ground or with some other kind of material assistance. And this either, unfortunately, allows most of these European partners to express, undoubtedly, their support for Ukraine in its struggle. But specifically, when it comes to troops, as for military assistance at the site of the conflict, unfortunately, allows them to simply not fully carry out this.
In addition to post-war planning to help Ukrainians, Britain is also helping our country right now. Just this year, it was announced that the British have provided a record amount of aid totaling £4.5 billion. And also together with the United States, the United Kingdom has shown leadership in coordinating a broader group of countries that are providing Kyiv with weapons and financial support. In September 2025, the United Kingdom provided Ukraine with military aid amounting to over $1.3 billion. These funds were allocated from frozen Russian assets. The country's government noted that this made it possible to supply hundreds of thousands of artillery shells, hundreds of air defense missiles, spare parts, and to sign new contracts for the maintenance and repair of equipment and vehicles.
Britain, which fully understands that after leaving the European Union, it needs something that will allow it to return to the global game. And essentially, by helping Ukraine, this brings the United Kingdom back onto the list of global players, which is what it wants. And that's why even something as simple as them more demonstratively removing restrictions on the use of their military and reallocating it to Ukraine is, in my opinion, also an argument in favor of Britain's growing role in global politics. And that Ukraine's war in this conflict will not only be Ukraine's war, but it will also be Britain's war, which Britain fully understands.
This Friday, October 24th, a meeting of the coalition of the Resolute will take place in the capital of Great Britain, London. It is expected that the President of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, will also join it.
Every voice matters. Join our community, support independent journalism and help us bring you the truth from Ukraine. Become a member of Ukraine today. Join us now.
Our forces strike right at the heart of the enemy elite. The Kremlin leadership is in a panic. Their untouchable elite is falling one after another. Every strike by the armed forces of Ukraine is a sentence. Ukrainian forces are methodically, cold-bloodedly and skillfully destroying the enemy's top commanders. This truth can no longer be hidden. Putin has found himself left with nothing. Will he be able to gather his strength again? Or is it time for the dictator to start writing farewell letters to what were once his best units? We'll find out in just a moment.
Over 3,000 kilometers. That is the current length of the front line between Ukraine and Russia. Of that, nearly 1,000 kilometers are active combat zones. Hundreds of kilometers where Ukrainian defenders are breaking the backbone of the army that was once called the second strongest in the world every single day. And every meter of this line is a story of courage, loss, and unbreakable will. At this frontier, not only columns of equipment and infantry are being destroyed, but also Russia's military elite. Since the start of the full-scale invasion, Ukrainian fighters have eliminated dozens of special forces soldiers from elite units. Psenesh and Kubinka, those whom the Russian Federation's family calls the elite of the elite.
The loss of such fighters is especially painful for Russia. Each of them is not just an ordinary soldier, but a specialist who has undergone years of training. Training a single officer like this takes years and requires significant resources.
Recently, a documentary film about the elimination of the sabotage and reconnaissance group of the Special Purpose Center Sinish, which operated in the Chernihiv region, was released to the public. This operation became one of the most effective since the beginning of the full-scale war. Ukrainian intelligence officers from the 54th Separate Reconnaissance Battalion, together with border guards from the 105th Detachment named after Prince Volodymyr the Great, eliminated 6 enemy officers. The bodies of those killed as well as weapons and equipment were seized.
Senish works with, they enter Ukrainian territory with their GoPro cameras turned on, and they record all their activities. Activities, if you can even call them that, killings, sabotage. This is essentially terror. And they, first of all, they show this to their perhaps commanders or superiors to report. And secondly, they post all of this online to intimidate people. And I call these particular videos How I Spent My Summer. And in these videos, there are explicit graphic scenes, killings, violence, and other disturbing acts. Ukrainians, Ukrainian soldiers, Ukrainian civilians.
The Sinish and Kubinka centers, key units of the Russian Federation's Special Operations Forces directly subordinate to the General Staff. Only the best of the best are selected there. Those who are supposed to carry out the most complex, covert, and dangerous missions. They are trained using Western methods and deployed in operations outside the country, from Ukraine to Africa. But in Ukraine, even such an elite proved powerless. Those whom Moscow calls invisible fighters become visible on Ukrainian fields.
Hold it! Hold it! Move back!
According to the I Want to Live project, during the war, Ukraine has eliminated at least 58 fighters from Russian Special Operations Forces, GRU and FSB. For the enemy's army, these are not just losses. This is a blow to the core personnel, to those who were supposed to conduct reconnaissance, coordinate operations, and prepare new sabotage missions. And while Russian propaganda continues to talk about precision weaponry and the professionalism of their army, the reality is completely different. On a front line stretching over 3,000 kilometers, Ukraine is not only holding the defense, but is also methodically eliminating those whom the Kremlin considers untouchable. And no matter how long the enemy wages this aggression, the defense forces will keep giving the same answer to the invader. No one will remain alive on Ukrainian soil.
That's all from me for now. This was me, Darina Hatsakalu. Even more scorching news in our next broadcast. And in the meantime, don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. See you soon.